What is up, guys, and welcome back to the first video of 2023. I am super excited to be here. I'm glad you're here with me. Today's gonna be exactly what the title says. I'm gonna do a big unhaul. It's very overdue. I am the type of person, and I feel like a lot of people are like this, a lot of booktubers, readers in general, you let things sit on your shelf for far longer than you probably should. Things that you either know you're not gonna read, you know you're not gonna reread them, they're just sitting around collecting dust, and I feel like they could go to somebody else. Like, I could donate them, I could sell them, they could go to somebody who's actually gonna read it and enjoy it. I'm pretty excited for this clear out. I wanna make space for some new stuff. I'm definitely feeling that, like, you know, out with the old, in with the new. It may be kind of cliche, but on the 1st of January, you do kind of get that sense of like a refresh and a restart. So I'm pretty pumped to get into it. So let's make some space. Quickly before we start, I forgot I was going to show you the new things that I got for Christmas. We got Bad Habits by Jen Sincero. I think that's how you say her last name. It talks a lot about like discipline, building habits, obviously, all that good stuff. I feel like it's kind of a cliche, but also kind of perfect read for the beginning of the year. And I know I need some discipline with my writing, so this will be good for me to read. Then The Woman Destroyed by Simone de Beauvoir. This is one that I picked up. I specifically asked boyfriend to buy me this for Christmas. I've walked by it so many times in Barnes & Noble, and I know that she's like a French feminist writer, I believe. It says after World War II, she emerged as one of the leaders of the existentialist movement. There's so many quotes that I've come across from her over the years that I really kind of connect with, so I'm finally gonna read this one this year. The First to Die at the End, which is a prequel to They Both Die at the End. I haven't read that one. It's been one that I, like back when I worked at the bookstore, it was one that I passed by all the time. Like, it was one that I remember shelving a lot, but I just never got around to reading it. So this is the prequel. So I could read this first and then read the other ones if I want to. The World Cannot Give by Tara Isabella Burton. To be completely honest, I don't even remember what this one's about, but I saw it on the bestseller list. It looked interesting. I picked it up. Oh yes, it's because they compare it to Fight Club. So Fight Club is one of the comps that they give. It says Brideshead Revisited meets Fight Club in this novel about a prestigious boarding school's cultic chapel choir and the obsessively ambitious, terrifyingly charismatic girl who rules over its members. That's why I picked it up. Anything culty, I'm all about it. Those are some new ones that we'll be adding to the shelf. I'm basically just stalling at this point, but I do need to actually start unhauling some books, so let's do it. All right, so starting with the first one, maybe those won't fall. The Vegetarian by Han Kang. Read this year, I really liked it. It was, I think, just shy of a 5-star read. It's pretty short, so I might reread this one. So I'm gonna say this is a keeper. Fight Club by Chuck Palahniuk. I always have to have a copy of this on my shelf. It's kind of funny that we just like read about a book that has to do with Fight Club because I'm obsessed with it. I love it. I've read it twice, 2-3 times, something like that. This I have to keep. This one is also a keeper, The Prince of Los Cocoyos by Richard Blanco. I read this when I think I was entering my senior year of college, and we had like a book club thing that we did over the summer, and somehow I was chosen as like the moderator. It was me and a professor of mine. I don't remember if he chose me or what the deal was, but it was kind of scary, but it was the first time I'd ever done anything like that. And I had to like come up with questions, and anyway, it was a whole thing. So I have like kind of fond memories of it. And then he came and spoke at school. As he was like speaking across campus, I was like turning my dorm room upside down trying to find my book. I had left it in the room after the little book club that we did, so my professor took it for me and had it signed. So it says, "To Brandie, love, cry, laugh," and then it's obviously signed. This is a really good memoir. Follow Me to Ground by Sue Rainsford. This is a keeper, again, super slim, so I feel like I could read this in like a night or two if I wanted. It's very weird. It's one of those books that like, it's very metaphoric. There's a lot that's kind of left open and not really explained. Essentially, the main character, Ada, and her dad are kind of recluses in their town, but they have healing powers. So people of the town go to them, but they're also kind of outcasts. I found it really interesting. Okay, Suburban Hell by Maureen Kilmer. I think this is gonna be the first one that I get rid of. I liked it. It was okay. I think I gave it 3.5 stars. Basically, one of the suburban wives, one of the housewives, gets possessed. And so the other 3 friends have to figure out how, you know, what's going on, realize what's going on, and then help her in some way. They want to put a she shed in the backyard, and then they release like a demon or something. I don't remember exactly all of the details, and I liked it, but it's not something I'm gonna reread. 1984 by George Orwell. This is kind of like Fight Club. I just always have to have a copy of it on my shelf. It's one of my favorite books. Must love books. Okay, it's cute. It's an office romance. Essentially, the main character, Nora, is very not happy with her job in the publishing industry. She's like low on the totem pole, and so she sort of creates an opportunity for herself to leave that's not totally, I don't know if it's illegal, but it's like definitely frowned upon. And there's a lot of buildup because you know she's gonna get caught, and then it was very kind of like kind of anticlimactic. This is another one I'm probably going to get rid of. And then Skyward Inn by Aaliyah Whiteley. I love her. I am obsessed with her. She does an amazing body horror kind of sci-fi. Those are the vibes for sure. This one really fell flat for me. So this is gonna be a donation as well. Okay, moving on to the like orangey-pinky books. We have FKA USA by Reed King. If I can get it out, it literally fits like perfectly. This one's really cool. It reminds me of Ready Player One, and it is a sci-fi kind of apocalyptic political satire. It says, he's tapped by the president for a sensitive political mission. Deliver a talking goat across the continent. The fate of the world depends upon it. It just wasn't one that I picked up this year, but I'm absolutely keeping it because it sounds really interesting. All right, next up we have Tell the Machine Goodnight by Katie Williams. I liked this one. This was science fiction. Essentially, there's like this little machine called the Apricity machine, and it can give you recommendations for like to improve your well-being. Like it's kind of like a happiness machine essentially. The main character is the person who like provides the information to the customer. I thought it was decent, but it's not one that I'm gonna reread, so getting rid of that one. Circe by Madeline Miller. This has been on my TBR for a long time. I know it's supposed to be really good. It's one that I just honestly haven't gotten to yet, but I will be keeping it. Luster by Raven Leilani. This is phenomenal. This was a 5 stars. It's written incredibly well. It's essentially about a young black girl who gets involved with, I want to say he's like basically a married man, and everything that kind of transpires. He's got I think adopted black daughter, and so that kind of comes into play. Edie, the main character, is essentially like really the only other black girl who the daughter has in her life. I thought it was incredibly well written, so I'm definitely going to keep this one. High Tide in Tucson by Barbara Kingsolver. This, I couldn't even tell you what it's about, to be completely honest. Oh, it's essays. Okay, so this is an essay collection. I think the only reason why I picked this up, it was in a little free library in Santa Fe. It's not high on my priority list, but I do want to keep it and read it someday. Okay, next up is a Jerry and Esther Hicks book, or Teachings of Abraham book, The Amazing Power of Deliberate Intent. I have read this one. This is one of the Law of Attraction books. This one specifically talks about the art of allowing and how we should go into every situation with intent. Like we should basically say what we want out of every day. That description that I just gave definitely sells this book way short, but it's amazing. I highly recommend all the Teachings of Abraham books. All right, Disorientation by Elaine Shea Chu. I think I'm saying her name right. This one was a 5-star. It was actually in my top 22 books of 2022. However, I'm probably not going to reread it. I'm obsessed with the cover. I love the story. If you want like a full review, you can obviously go check out that video. But since I don't see myself rereading it, I'm probably going to get rid of this one. And then I think it's going to be the same thing for The School for Good Mothers. This one examines the idea of like the bad mommy. If you're a bad parent, you get sent to essentially prison, but it's like it's more like a reform school, hence The School for Good Mothers. And so you're basically taught how to be a good mom. So it brings into question the way that we treat women, particularly mothers in society. I really liked it. I have a reading blog on it, but I don't see myself rereading it, so I'm probably going to sell this one or donate this one as well. Convenience Store Woman by Sayaka Murata. Thoroughly enjoyed this. I feel like this is one that I don't know that it specifically ever says, but I feel like if you're wanting to read more books with neurodivergent characters. I feel like Kiko she's the main character, and she's definitely, you know, kind of living a life that's left of center. Everything that her thoughts and everything definitely give that vibe. So loved this one. It's short enough I could probably reread it if I wanted to. So this one's a keeper. Matilda by Roald Dahl. Boyfriend and I read this one together. I'm gonna keep this one to read to my future children one day. So that's a keeper. Otessa Moshfegh's My Year of Rest and Relaxation. This was also in my top 22 books of 2022. I don't plan on rereading it, but since I own a couple of other Otessa Moshfegh books, I got homesick for Another World down here. So if I own one, I kind of like the idea of keeping other ones that same author has written as well. So gonna keep that one. Then Big Magic by Elizabeth Gilbert. I've got this one tabbed up. Essentially, if you live a creative life, I mean, we all do to some extent, but if you're working on a project and you're just finding yourself really stalled out for whatever reason, this is a really great book to dive into because it definitely filled me with the urge to kind of get back on it. So loved that one. And then Cultish by Amanda Montell. Loved this one. This was again a top book of 2022. I don't know that I'll reread it. It's so gorgeous. I love this cover. I almost just want to keep it for the cover. I loved this one. I don't know. This is tough. Oh gosh. I might sell it. I think I'm gonna try to sell this one. Oh, it's so good though. This is the keeper stack, and this is the stack I'm getting rid of. So really, I mean, they're almost equal. I feel like I'm doing pretty good. We have 6 more of the like orangey yellow covers to go through. This one I read like the first chapter of How to Marry Keanu Reeves in 90 Days. Somehow completely forgot about it. I think it's because these like light-hearted, like rom-com type books aren't usually my thing, but I do want to keep it, and then possibly this summer, if I'm wanting something very light-hearted and very fun, I will pick this one up. So I will keep this one. Then we have, I'll go ahead and grab this one too, 2 copies of A New Earth by Eckhart Tolle. Highly recommend. Really one of those books that kind of makes you really question things. I think this more battered one is mine, and then I think, so I'll keep that one. I'm gonna keep this one as well because I think I bought this one with the intention of gifting it to someone one day. So I'll keep that one, and then whenever I feel the urge to do that, then I will gift this one to somebody. Next is Omnivores by Lydia Millett. This was a finalist for a Pulitzer, very slim novel. I thoroughly enjoyed it. It's basically a coming of age, but it follows a very fraught relationship between a father and daughter. So it's kind of dark. There's some cannibalism. I don't even want to say like aspects. It's very, very in your face. I think I'm gonna hold on to this one. This one is like a no-brainer. A Prayer for the Crown Shy by Becky Chambers. I'm probably gonna buy the first one. They're solar punk. It's such a cool subgenre I didn't really know about. I'm gonna read everything Becky Chambers has written because of these books, and I'm probably also gonna do some research this year into that subgenre, and I just want to read more of it. It's really fascinating. So this one's a keeper for sure. And then Play It As It Lays by Joan Didion. Love her writing. It's very unique. I gave this a 5 stars. It was actually in my top 22. I think I might keep it, even though I don't have any intention of rereading it, just so that when I buy her other books, I kind of have a little stack of them together. All right, moving on to the blue and purple covers. These 2 off the top are vintage, like thrifted ones. Ira Levin's The Stepford Wives. I think I might actually get rid of this one. Don't have any intention of rereading it. I liked it, thought it was good. I love this cover. I am quite obsessed. But I don't want to keep it on my shelf just because the cover is cool. That's kind of the point of this video, is to really be strict with myself and get rid of stuff that I know I'm not going to reread, so I think I am gonna say goodbye to this one. And then Blood on the Moon by Barney Cohen. This I've had to make some repairs to. It's pretty bad shape, honestly, when I bought it. It sounds really cool. The year's 2084, and it's about the first murder that takes place on the moon. I think I'm gonna keep it. Sorrow and Bliss by Meg Mason. This I gave a 5 stars. Loved this. Talks about mental health in a very clever way. It's one of those like slice of life, midlife crisis kind of books. I think I'm gonna sell it though. because I don't plan on rereading it, but it's very good and I do recommend. Next is Normal People by Sally Rooney. I am gonna go ahead and read Conversations with Friends at some point this year because I hear most people like that one a little bit better than Normal People. I didn't have any problems with this. I mean, I don't plan on watching the show or anything. I wasn't wowed by it. I know this is one of those books that's pretty divisive, so I don't know if I should keep it because I'm gonna read her other stuff. I think I'm gonna sell this one. The Old Man and the Sea by Hemingway. This is Boyfriends, so I'm gonna set this one aside. The Long and Far Away Gone by Lou Berney. This actually takes place in Oklahoma City in the 80s. A like murder mystery thriller. I read it in college, it's been a minute. So it's cool that he's like a local author, and he did sign it for me, so I definitely will be keeping it. I had asked about outlining because he came to class one day to talk to us, and he gave me a little bit of advice, so then he signed it, good luck with your outlining. So I thought that was very personal and cool, so that's a keeper. The Gifts of Imperfection by Brené Brown. I want to read more Brené Brown. I find her TED Talks and all of her like interviews and speeches really fascinating. I haven't gotten around to this one, but I don't think I'm ready to part with it just yet. Our Wives Under the Sea by Julia Armfield. If you guys have watched my channel for even just a couple of months or seen a couple of videos, you've probably heard me talk about this. I'm obsessed with it. It's excellent. It's body horror. It's LGBTQ. It was one of my top books of 2022. Read it on the beach in Florida. It was a very creepy beach read. So yes, definitely holding on to this. Becoming Supernatural by Dr. Joe Dispenza. I was really pumped to read this when I first bought it. It was very intriguing, but I've heard some things on the internet since then to make me think a little bit differently about it. It's a mind, body, spirit book, kind of about healing, kind of healing yourself, kind of a little bit on the woo-woo side, I guess you could say. So I'm gonna keep it for now until I do a little more research, I think. This is one of those imaginary world of books that I've talked about if you guys have seen my writing vlogs. So these are really cool. You can get them at the bookstore. They're usually by the Wreck This journals. And basically what I do is I draw maps, I do like character development for my novels that I write. So this one's maybe about not even half full because this will be a novel that I get to in the future. But these are great if you're a writer. And then we have Sirens and Muses by Antonia Ongres. I thoroughly enjoyed this one. I think it was a 4.5, 5 stars. It's about some people at an art school and how their lives sort of start to intertwine with each other. There's 3 students and a professor. It's a little bit political, it's a little artsy. There's some LGBTQ rep in this. There's a sapphic relationship. I don't plan on rereading it. It is a beautiful book. It's tough letting go. It's like saying goodbye to a friend or something. It's kind of sad. I think I'm gonna sell it. So these are the How Not to Die, the book, and then the cookbook by Dr. Michael Greger. He's a nutritionist. He knows his stuff. So if you want to know anything at all about how not to die from certain diseases, cancers, all that stuff, these books, I mean, I can't even like tell you the amount of things that I've learned. Haven't finished it. I haven't read it all the way through by any means, but it's just, it really is fascinating. We don't really get taught anything in school about nutrition or health or how to take care of ourselves. So I find books like that absolutely necessary for life. So I do recommend. All right, this last little stack we have Travels with Charlie in Search of America by Steinbeck. I do love Steinbeck. I've read him before. I think we intended to read this one when we were road tripping to Colorado, and then we just were talking and looking at scenery and we ended up not reading it. So I'll keep this for maybe a future road trip. Then we have The Only Ones by Carola DeBelle. This is from $2 Radio, which is a freaking awesome small press publishing house. I love so many of the novels that they publish. This is like an apocalyptic end of the world kind of thing. I would like to actually build a small collection just of $2 Radio books. So I think I'm gonna keep this one. And then The Delorean by Missouri Williams. I've said before, this is one I'm gonna keep, and I'm just gonna have to reread it every few years to see what new insights I get out of it. It's very weird. Post-apocalyptic, incest, a crazy matriarch of a family wants to repopulate the earth in her image. Lots of metaphors. It's very interesting, it's very weird, so I'll be keeping it. Quiet by Susan Cain. The Power of Introverts in a World That Can't Stop Talking. I've been very curious about this book for a really long time. I think I maybe just need to find an audiobook of it. That may be the only way I actually sit down and read it. I'm definitely introverted. This book will probably speak to me in a lot of ways. I think I'm gonna look for an audiobook. I am gonna keep it, but I'm gonna look for the audiobook. Then Piranesi by Susanna Clark. This was awesome. It's one of those books that you see on the internet a lot, and it is worth the hype. I gave it 5 stars. I think I'm going to get rid of it though. I think I'm gonna sell it because it should go to somebody who's gonna reread it, and I don't have any plans to do that. All's Well by Mona Awad. I just picked this up actually recently. Boyfriend and I road tripped to St. Louis, Missouri. I think it was Left Bank Books. I haven't read it yet, so we'll definitely be keeping this one. And then we have 2 Teachings of Abraham books by Jerry and Esther Hicks. We've got The Vortex and The Law of Attraction. So these, again, like the How Not to Die books, for me, I find are like very necessary and almost like required reading. I feel like everybody should read them. You definitely have to go into them with an open mind, but it'll completely change your life. I don't say that lightly. Genuinely, if you want to change your life, I feel like these are like pretty necessary and an easy place to start. All right, moving down to this bottom shelf. This one I'll be keeping. Fairest. This is one of the first books I ever bought at like a book fair. It wasn't actually this one. I bought it new hardcover, and then I saw this at a used bookstore a few years ago and thought, I don't know, it was just very nostalgic. So it's honestly not one that I plan to read myself anytime soon, but I figure it would be really cool to read to a future child of mine. So then we have Otis Moshfegh's Homesick for Another World. So this is a keeper. I couldn't even tell you what this is about, to be honest, but I know I want to read it. I Who Have Never Known Men by Jacqueline Hartman. This is a French translated novel. Don't quote me, I think that's right. I loved this. It was very weird, very different. I want to say I have a reading vlog on it, so I'll link that if you guys are interested. It's super slim. It would be a really quick reread. I remember being like a little bit disappointed in the ending. I think I might get rid of this one, so it's gonna go up there. When God Was a Woman by Merlin Stone. I've got to keep this one. This one was really incredible. I will let you guys pause on the screen if you want to read what it's about. I found it really fascinating. I just read it in December. Then we have, I want to say this is the Ambergris trilogy. I love these covers. I think these are the UK covers. Have not read these yet. Jeff Vandermeer is, I have a love-hate relationship with him. I enjoyed Annihilation, but then later on in that series, I was kind of, my eyes were glazing over a little bit, so hopefully these I enjoy a little better. We have A New Love of Mine, Rachel Cusk. This is the first in the Outline trilogy. I definitely plan on purchasing the other 2, Transit and Kudos, this year. So those are pretty high on my priority list, so that's a keeper. Lolita by Vladimir Nabokov. Boyfriend and I really love this. The writing is incredible. Obviously, it's one of those books that kind of gives you the willies, but I mean, you can't deny that it's incredibly written, so I will probably keep this one. Lone Survivor is one of Boyfriend's. 1Q84 by Murakami. I started this and I got this far, so I didn't quite finish the first book because it's 3 different books. You can kind of just barely see those lines right there, like the divider pages between the 3 books. So I got like halfway through, but I don't know. It would hold my attention and then it wouldn't. So I do plan to finish it, so I will be keeping it, but I think just seeing all 3 of them together was a little too intimidating for my brain at the time. Why I'm No Longer Talking to White People About Race. This one I haven't read. I remember really loving, what was the one that everybody, Hood Feminism. I think that's what I read instead of this one. Definitely still intend on reading this one. I'll just have to put it on my TBR. And then The Selenian or The Selenian by my friend Catherine Hightower. Hi Katie, if you're watching. I love this. Love her cover too. I'm kind of obsessed with this. It reminds me of Outline actually. That, where did I put it? Like the white border and then just like primary colors. I don't know. It's really pretty to look at. I'll let you guys pause if you want to know what this one's about. Obviously keeping it. I need to have her sign it. All right, we're in the final stretch. All of the black covers. So starting with Lily King's Writers and Lovers. Loved this one. Was a 5 stars. I don't have any intentions on rereading it though, so I think this is going to be a donate one. The Best American Science Fiction and Fantasy 2019. I haven't read anything in this yet. I haven't dipped into it. Definitely going to keep it. Oh, I've bookmarked something. I must have dog-eared that because it sounds very interesting. So that's a keeper. The Atlas 6 by Olivia Blake. Definitely keeping this one because I intend to purchase the sequel when it's finally out in paperback. Black Sun by Rebecca Roanhorse. Same thing here. It's part of a series. I think there's 2 more at least. So gotta wait for them to come out in paperback. And so yeah, this is a keeper. The Sacred Mushroom and the Cross by John M. Allegro. I think I heard about, honestly, on like the Joe Rogan podcast or somewhere like that. It sounds really interesting. It sounds like it's going to be in the same vein as When God Was a Woman. And that was absolutely fascinating. Yep, it literally sounds like it's going to be very similar. So I do want to get to this one this year. And then Women Who Run with the Wolves by Clarissa Pinkola Estes. This is one of those books I've dipped into a little bit here and there. I think I've read like 2 or 3 chapters, and my intention, yep, this is my bookmark. So I've made it 74 pages in. I think my intention was like read a chapter, put it down for a couple of weeks, you know, read some fiction, read a chapter, put it down kind of thing. This is one of those that eventually I will finish, eventually. Then we have Trick Mirror by Gia Tolentino. I really love this one. I don't think I want to get rid of it. Do I plan on rereading it is the question. There was some really good stuff in this, but I have a reading journal, you know, and it's like I wrote down all the quotes that I liked. So I think I'm going to get rid of this one. Snakeskins by Tim Major. I was hoping there was going to be a sequel to this, so I've held on to this for a little while. It's very good. It's about cloning. I'll let you guys pause there if you're interested. I don't think there was ever going to be a second one. The ending left me so unsatisfied. Okay, I'll do some research on this, and if there's not a sequel, probably going to get rid of this one. American Psycho by Bret Easton Ellis. I have read Ellis before. Less Than Zero, I think, was the one that I read by him, which wasn't a huge fan of. Didn't hate it, didn't love it, but obviously this is like his more famous one, and I do want to read this one maybe like this October. Then we have 2 by Aaliyah Whiteley, The Loosening Skin and From the Neck Up. These are body horror. This one's kind of about cloning, sort of. It's about like shedding your skin every 7 years or something? They shed their skin. I thought it was interesting. I wasn't obsessed. And then From the Neck Up is short stories. I want to hold on to these. My favorite by her is called The Beauty. So I want to purchase that one so I kind of have a little small collection of her stuff. What's this one? Think Big by Ben Carson. This one's boyfriend, so that's gonna be a keeper. Woman Eating by Claire Coda. This was one of my faves. I feel like I might actually reread this one, even though I'm not a big rereader, just because it was so good and I loved it. So gonna hang on to this one. We Sold Our Souls by Grady Hendrix. This one was not my favorite by him. I wasn't as obsessed with this one as My Best Friend's Exorcism, and he actually has one coming out on January 17th called How to Sell a Haunted House. So I look forward to that one, but I think I am gonna part with this one. We have another one that I know right off the bat I'm gonna get rid of, The Death of Jane Lawrence. I was really looking forward to this one. I was pretty disappointed. It just went in a direction I wasn't expecting. I actually listened mostly to the audiobook, but yeah, this one's kind of an easy one to get rid of. Vita Nostra is one of my most favorite dark academic books that I've ever read. Very weird, very abstract, but incredible. So this is a keeper. The Final Girl Support Group. This is another Grady Hendrix. I was a little disappointed in this one too. I really hope that his next one is going to be better. I think I'm going to get rid of this one as well. And then finally we have If We Were Villains by M.L. Rio. Haven't read this one yet, but I know it's supposed to be a real famous dark academia one. So this one is another one I'll probably wait until October to read.